When Red Schoendienst ended the longest All-Star game on record with a homer, they gave it all to the National League. When he grew up, he would hit 7 feet. He would also become one of the highest scoring players in basketball history.
Penalty flag on the play. Pass is caught. That's Ingold, the fullback, for the touchdown, but a flag is down.
Absolutely fantastic.
Rebound. Oh! Did you see that? One of the saves of the year from Marc-Andre Fleury.
Hey there, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Power Play Sports Collectibles Show, coming to you live from Go Live Vegas in the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada. It is August 8th. We're in August. Yes, we are. Joining me, as always, at the dais, Mr. Scott Hosey, the man behind Power Play Sports. How are you, sir?
Good.
I hear an echo on my headset.
Yeah, echo also.
Okay.
But we have a special guest.
We
So let's
do.
just jump into the intro so we can get our special guest who's sitting here. Everybody
Yes.
recognizes him, but I'll let you do the intro in a few seconds. So, first of all, reminder, if you're coming to the mall at the Boulevard Mall
Yes.
and anywhere else in town, don't forget, there is social distancing right now. 6 foot social distancing, masks.
Minimum.
Minimum. 50% occupancy in a lot of locations. And if you're sick, stay at home.
If you're sick?
Sick, yeah.
G. Michael is in the room.
Exactly. No, if you're sick,
It's
stay
a
at
really
home.
bad Yankee reference for those who don't follow the Yankees.
Yes. And then also, next weekend,
Yes.
we might be remote. We haven't figured that out yet.
Oh, yes, we should discuss that.
Yes, after the show. After second show, whatever, how many shows we do. But August 14th through the 16th at the Boulevard Mall, we will have our sports cards, toys, collectible show at the Boulevard with Marty the Moth from Lucha Underground.
Yep.
He'll be coming on the show if we're either here at the studio or remote down there.
Right.
One of the greatest guests we've ever had.
Flyer is up, so you can see all the
Flyer is up,
details.
Absolutely.
Covered by a couple of tweets. That's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
No,
Tweet in
absolutely.
if you have a question.
Tweet.
So we will have that show going on. And then a couple weeks later at Sunset Station,
Yes.
September 5th and 6th, we will be having our sports cards, toys, and collectibles show over at Sunset Station with Las Vegas' own Chris Bay, Impact Champion, along with former WWE Champion from the European side. And the international side, we've got D'Lo Brown.
He looks international, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So, once again, if you have any questions, you can tweet in, you can call in, and you can also email me at shows@powerplaysportscards.com.
Shows?
Shows.
Shows.
Very easy, except the second part. Powerplaysportscards.com.
As seen right there in the lower left corner. on the graphic.
Absolutely. So, if you have any questions, or you can call the store at 702-482-7529, 702-482-PLAY.
Oh, that's very good.
So let's jump right into the introduction.
Before I go,
Oh,
I
okay.
will introduce him, and then we'll go over all the details as to how people can join the show as always. Joining us here at our dais, as we like to call it, you probably recognize him from a little show that you can see on the History Channel called Pawn Stars. Did I do that okay?
I think so.
All right. Okay. As seen on.
TV.
Anyway, on TV, yes. Steve Johnston, owner of Rogue Toys, the expert that is called in when an unusual item needs some expertise and information, joins us today. How are you, sir?
I am very good. Thank you guys for having me on.
Oh, this would be so much fun. Toys, toys, toys. Who loves toys? Who doesn't love toys? If you don't love toys, get out of the way. Anyway, as always, you can join in the conversation by calling us locally through our local number, 702-329-6947. If you're outside the U.S., although we still can't ship to you, that's okay. We'll still take your calls, 855-502 4321. Send us a live tweet as you see there on the screen using hashtag PPSC Live, Power Play Sports Collectibles Live. And of course, we are in the chat rooms, watch parties. Start a watch party of your own. Share it with your friends and have them join us. We want Steve to be busy taking calls, answering questions, so that Scott and I can sit back and relax, and we'll just change the show to the Steve Johnson Rogue Toy Show.
Well,
Brought to you by the Sports Power Play Sports.
Be careful.
I can get the great debate going right off the top of, since he's a toy guy and in the non-sports world, that I'm more the sports guy.
Yeah.
But we've had this debate going that I don't believe Batman is really a
Oh,
superhero.
no.
You know, okay, so Chum and Corey recently had this argument about Superman and Batman and all that stuff, and ultimately Chum lost. And if you ever get a chance to watch the episode, it was actually great. It was a Mego Wayne Foundation playset, which is from the 70s. Kind of a good and bad playset because, you know, you wanted Batman's stuff, but it was like Batman's apartment. I don't know if you necessarily wanted his apartment, right?
He's going to look that up.
It's great. Look up the Wayne Foundation. But anyways, the episode was great, and Chum ended up losing, and he had to wear a Batman costume on the boulevard, which was fantastic and a lot of fun.
No one noticed him. No. He fit right in with everyone else down
Especially
there.
down there, Fremont Street area. Absolutely.
So here's my argument for that, to answer that debate. And I'm probably not going to give you the answer you want, but I'm going to give you my answer, which is we consider anybody to be a superhero if they can fix and find things. And what I mean by that is Batman has all the toys, all the tools, and is always able to outsmart everybody. So does that make him super enough for you? It does for me.
Absolutely.
Oh, you just made his day.
I know, but it wasn't the answer you wanted.
No, I adore the old, Adam West Batman series,
Of course.
and I love all the new movies. But realistically, it just gets under his craw. Like I always call Derek one vote short Jeter. Yeah.
Can you turn his mic off, please? I know it's his show, but
Hey, I'm a Padre fan. I grew up in San Diego, right?
Yeah.
From
And I
East
worked for
County.
the organization for quite some time.
So I was a Hoff, for sure. And so to see him not get the votes that I thought he should have gotten
Sure.
in the Hall of Fame,
Tony
I
Gwynn.
can understand. And Gwen, again, how is Gwen not 100% vote in at the time?
I agree.
There's a few players, Maddox, Gwen.
Absolutely.
He could have hit 450 if he wanted to.
Sure.
If he wanted to, he could have.
probably blindfolded.
Yeah, no, he was unreal.
Because he had probably the sweetest swing in baseball at the time.
It was him and Griffey.
Yeah.
Right?
My gosh.
That was it. So,
Jeez.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on our Power Play Sports Show talk show. No, I'm only kidding. It's
It
great.
is.
No, absolutely. No. I'm just being goofy as always. You want to go through a couple of things at the top? You talked about the car shows. Anything else in there?
Card.
Card.
Yes, you criticize me, I get to criticize you. You're just so nervous. You're so excited about
I'm
the
a mark.
Batman thing.
I'm a mark
Yeah.
that he said Batman. I bought a piece on auction, which hopefully my wife's not listening, that somebody was up for auction for a charity, and it had all the Batmans, Adam West and Val Kilmer and Christian Bale, they're all signed. George Clooney's picture was there, no signature, but it's got the COAs.
We have a name for him, but I'll keep
Now,
that
what
for
is you,
off air.
We are open. Just
you
So-
podcast,
okay.
you know you can say anything
All right,
you want.
so we have a live show that we do on Tuesday nights
Yeah,
on
please,
our
plug it.
Facebook
Sure.
platform,
Absolutely.
right? 6 o'clock on Facebook Live.
Okay.
Anyways,
Under what page?
On the Rogue Toys, so
Okay.
at Rogue Toys, and we were having a conversation one night about a couple of items from the George Clooney Batman line, and my wife goes, well, that's bat nips.
Yes!
And ever since,
That's
right.
That's
ever
right.
since that episode, every single episode has had bat nips in it. Everybody is hashtag bat. It's the most funny thing.
That's
ever,
all he's
but
known
it's
for
fantastic.
that movie.
I know,
because
and
that
it's
movie
so
sucked.
bad.
The
And
movie
what-
sucked.
The movie was horrible.
Yes.
Right? But there was some really, really cool feature pieces in
Right.
it. Like the Batmobile was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
But it doesn't get any love because it was in that movie.
Exactly,
But anyways,
exactly.
yeah, so.
By the way, Chief is in the house. Thank you, Chief, as always, for watching. So here's a question. There it is. There's the piece. We showed it Wednesday night.
Gosh, that's so
all
cool.
signed. Now, here's a question I have for you.
Yeah.
When Adam West passed away a couple of years ago, should that not have been declared a national holiday?
Well, I'm going to tell you, in the world of Springfield, it was.
Yes,
Right,
Mayor
with
The
the
West.
Simpsons, yeah, because Mayor West went down.
Exactly.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some type of national moniker at some point, and it might be a play off of Batman
Sure.
Day, and it might be more based off of that original '66 Batman Day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely will. And what was unfortunate for us here in Las Vegas was that Adam West was actually scheduled to appear at a convention
Right.
2 weeks before he passed.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he was still planning to appear and
Right.
all this stuff and everything.
And he appeared in Cleveland when I did the All Sports National, which I was part of the promotion for there. And the interesting part was you see the generations. And all the, I guess, our generation
Sure.
was walking up Batman
Right.
for the pictures.
Right.
And then the younger generation, Adam,
Right.
Mayor West. And I'm
Right,
sitting
right.
there,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
It's funny because I over the winter my daughter was out in L.A. working the show. She's a sound technician, and we went to Warner Brothers Studios. And through the tour, all the backlot stuff. And as I'm looking over my shoulder, deep in the back of the lot where we hadn't gotten to yet, what did I see? Gotham City Hall steps.
Yep.
And I talk about being a mark. I couldn't wait to jump the hell out of the little train to run over there. It was, and on TV it looks like there's like 20 steps that they run up. There's only like 6.
Yeah.
Now, here's a piece of trivia. You probably know this as a trivia guy. Adam West refused to run up those steps. They had a stunt double run those steps because they're marble steps.
Right.
Apparently, he was afraid of slipping if they get wet. And obviously, it's the same scene that they showed at the beginning of
Right.
every 100 episodes. It's the same husband and wife walking by. And then they had a display of all the Batmobiles.
Yeah, see, that's cool.
I do mark out with Batman for sure.
Well,
all right.
Got to have your fandoms.
Yeah, absolutely. 702-329-6947. I see Richie from Minnesota's in the house. 702-329-69. If you have an item, if you have a question, this is all going to be about collectibles from the toy perspective. He's going to stay with us for the show. We'll have a lot of fun talking about stuff in the sports collectible world as well as the
toys. That's why I left
toy.
it off. He's
Absolutely.
the toy expert.
he's sitting here with a couple of toys as it is right now on the show. Give us a call. And, of course, tweet us. Send us a live tweet using hashtag PPSCLive. We'd love to see your question. We'll comment on it. And eventually there will be a QR code that will jump on the screen. And when you see that QR code, whether you do it during the live show or during the replay, just put your scanner up there, and it will take you to PowerPlaySportsCards.com. Not like Jay. Did you catch Jason's mistake Wednesday night?
I did not.
Somebody jumped
Wednesday.
all over him in the chat room. He said PowerPlaySportsCollectibles.com, and I'm like,
okay.
oh, it's Thomas Burnett.
I'm gonna dock his pay. He fills in for me, and then.
But given what he did that night with the guests and everything, I asked that you give him a pass.
Okay.
All right, give him a pass on this one.
Okay.
We had Zeus on. The guy
Okay.
It
Yeah.
was great.
That's
great.
awesome.
Anyway, we have a couple of minutes before our first break, so you want to get started?
Well, first of all, Steve, tell us, the listeners who aren't familiar with Pawn Stars and Rogue Toys, tell us
As
about
seen
your.
on the History Channel.
Yeah.
He said it's got to be done. I will sneak it in there.
man.
We
you
are going to
did
get a quarter for
You're
every
okay.
time that's
Hey,
done that.
it's there, man. You're good now.
Tell us a little bit about your history, background, and how you got into this toy world.
Well, what's funny is that I started when I was a kid, and I actually was into sports cards. I was heavily into sports and sports cards as a kid, and I was buying and selling and trading. And in fact, I love telling the story since it's sports, right? I bought Mike Mussina rookies at FanFest in San Diego in bulk. I bought them from every dealer because it was right before I knew he was getting called up. Now, this was
Right.
quite before we had all the information we have now.
True.
So I had hundreds of Mussina rookies, and then the guy gets promoted to the big leagues, and I was reselling them back to all those dealers at like $10 and $15 a piece, right?
Yeah.
And as a kid, I'm a 15-year-old kid making hundreds of dollars off of flipping these 10-cent cards I bought. But no, I got into that, and then it turned into Hot Wheels. Star Wars, I was really kind of chasing that, and then from there what happened is I sold a couple pieces out of my collection, and once I sold those pieces, everything became for sale.
You became hooked.
Yeah, and so then we started selling everything. So then fast forward, I had a DJ career. I've done a little bit of everything, but I've always gotten to play. I've always gotten to play for work. So that's always been a good thing. But
If you enjoy what you're doing, it ain't work.
yeah, no, exactly. And so we decided we were looking at it, and I even bought and sold storage units, and did the whole
Storage
thing.
wars.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I actually I was on a couple episodes of Auction Hunters. So
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, with Alan Heff and Ton Jones. So anyways, we got out there, and my wife and I just kind of started talking, and she kind of was a closet nerd, I guess, in a way, and kind of let me know after we got married, like, I've got some toys, I've got some stuff. I'm like, well, let me tell you about me. So anyways, we
The addictions.
I know, right? And then the truth comes
Yeah.
out. And so then, we're talking, and she says, I think we should look at opening a store. And I'm like, no, everything's online. Everything's online. She's like, no, let's open a store. So we opened our first store downtown, and we were diagonal to the Las Vegas Gold and Silver. they came over about 6 months after and kind of talked to us a little bit if we'd ever be interested in going over there, and said, I'll take a look, talk to you guys. So years go by, mutual customer keeps hounding. They made some, I want to call them wholesale changes, where a lot of the experts changed about season 13.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a little while, but
right.
it's been about 6-7 years. And they made a bunch of changes. They called us. I went over, met with them, and filmed the next day. And I love telling the first day story, and so I think you guys will dig this. But so I go over, and it was actually for a Buddy Lee doll. Now, if you're not familiar with what Buddy Lee was an advertising doll for Lee Jeans, and basically he was just produced as, it was supposed to be up as a display, and it would have the new overalls or the new jeans or whatever it was. And people started asking for him at retail, can I buy that doll from you? Can I, and so they turned it into a product.
Just my bottle of water, but it's close.
You're nervous, aren't you?
Well, I just saw a shot, and my bottle of water was right in front of Steve, and I'm like, no, let me get this out of the way, and I tried putting it on a chair, and it dove off. Sorry, anyway.
No, you're right. So
It's the ghost.
seller brings it in, and they call me over there. So I show up, come for my scene, I walk in, come in, I shake Rick's hand. Rick asks me about the item. I give him the information. We talk, everything goes and done, and then scene cuts, right? Because it's TV. Yeah. So the scene cuts, and then they pull me off the side. So I'm standing next to the security guard, and I'm like, that's it? Right? And he's like, yeah, that's it. And so as I walk off, the producer looks around, she goes, Rick, you got anything? No. Looks at the camera guy. You got anything? No. Okay. So they finish the scene out, right? Negotiate with the buyer, all that stuff, everything. I'm off the side. And I come back, and I'm like, so, that was crazy. I didn't expect it to be like that. She goes, I got to tell you, I've never had an expert do a one take before. And I was like, oh, okay.
Right on. Well, that's good. That's good. Because,
Yeah,
but your background, though, too, as you said before, DJ and all that,
Yeah.
you know how to work
Public
it.
speaking was, not hard for me. so.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to step aside for our first break, but before we go, I want to remind everybody, you are probably watching us on Facebook, but just know you can take us on the go by downloading the Go Live Vegas mobile app. If you're going somewhere, just put it on your phone. We're also airing on GoLive.Vegas, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, our YouTube channel, and of course right here on Facebook. Tune into whatever method is easiest. More importantly, we're happy you're watching wherever it is. All right, we're going to step aside for a quick 60-second break. When we come back, more with Steve. We're going to get into World of Toys and all the other questions. And you, right below me, right there. Look, I did it right on the first take there. Scott, you impressed? Me too. 855-502-4321. But more importantly, the number down at the very bottom corner, I should probably do this. 702-329-6947 is the number that you want right there. We'll be back in 60 seconds.
Hi, I'm Wally Joyner. Listen to the Power Play Sports Collectibles podcast every week and visit the store at the Boulevard Mall.
Looking to advertise your small business at a low cost? Do you need your commercial designed or actually produced for you? Advertise on two of the hottest shows on the internet, Power Play Sports Collectibles and Thoughts Count Anywhere. Both shows with getting over 40,000 views per week for only one low cost. For more information, please email info@thoughtscountanywhere.com.
All right, welcome back to Power Play Sports Collectible Show. Aaron, Scott, and of course joining us here on the dais, Steve Johnston, owner of Rogue Toys, as seen on
Pawn Stars.
Pawn
as seen
Stars on the History Channel.
Yes.
As an expert, when an odd toy or item comes in, they call Steve and take care of business. Shout out to Brian, who's watching in the chat room. And again, please give us a call with your thoughts, questions, comments, and anything that you hear. More importantly, let's talk with Steve. You've got an expert here in studio. Scott's an expert as well, but me, I'm just facilitating. So we've got two experts here. Call and pick their brains about anything that you have regarding the collectibles world, toys, or sports, or otherwise.
So during this whole shutdown, and it's an unfortunate situation for all of us, a lot of us have websites and things like that.
Yeah.
How did your stores kick back into operation? Are they doing okay? Not business-wise,
Right.
but did the customers come back right away? Is it a slow process? I know mine is a little slow process because we're in a mall, and some people are a little hesitant. I can't fault them, but my website has just been blowing up, which is amazing. So How did Rogue Toys make it through all this COVID thing? And, what do you see for the future?
Well, first off, I want to say that I have an incredible support staff.
Yes.
Right. And it's important to have that. And so my wife and business partner, Crystal, who actually is the co-founder of Rogue Toys, she has developed a website that has really been foolproof for us. So roguetoys.com, our loyalty program works there, free shipping orders, $50 or more. And she's really worked on working all the bugs out. We were already in place with the website.
Sweet.
So we didn't have to
ground up,
freak out and run it and try to change the entire model. What it did for us, though, is that it forced us to really streamline some of our processes.
Mm-hmm.
And so myself, because of quarantine, Kelly Jackson, who is our partner for our East Las Vegas store, she, Mike Carsano, who's our Portland, Oregon partner.
Give them all shout-outs.
Yeah,
we'll
I will,
list,
absolutely, yeah. And Louis Argueta, who is our manager of our Salt Lake store, we all went in and did all of the logistics shipping every single day, making sure we had it. And then we still offered some curbside pickup. We did it, though, we scheduled curbside pickups. So the way it worked was we had a window that you could pick up, and it was between 3 and 5, 3 days a week, and that was it. That's all you could pick up. Because we knew most people were home, so there you go. And then we did it really, we were on point. We brought it out. All the, social distancing requirements and stuff. Now, I'll tell you, for us, from the COVID standpoint, I think we were ahead of the game.
Good.
And the reason we were is because we were involved with ToyCon, which this was the last year of Vegas ToyCon, and we actually helped produce the show floor. So we ran the whole thing. 3 days before, we got information that the state was probably going to be shut down, and we were waiting to see what was going to happen. So we went and saw our friend Anthony at OSI Southern Nevada, and he's a consulting firm, and he came in and put together a COVID plan for the convention. Well, we were able to implement that COVID plan at the convention that also allowed us to have that kind of in place for the stores in advance. So that week before we were shut down, our stores were already transitioned over to that. And so we were already working in that positive direction. Now, as far as the impact, yeah, it absolutely had an impact on us. I hated, we had to lay staff off. That was hurtful to have to lay your staff off.
Absolutely. I feel the same way.
And we did everything we could to kind of keep people going as much as we could. But, you're a small business too. Even though we've got multiple locations, you're still a small business.
Absolutely.
So, what we found, though, is that people embraced online. At first, it was a little touch and go. My biggest issue, and I'll air this anywhere, is that I don't believe that big box stores should have had the ability to sell non-essential items during the time of the shutdown.
Hey, it's your opinion, and I agree with you.
Right, and the reason it's my opinion is because I have product that I'm still sitting on that they were able to sell during that time that I couldn't, and I had started, But anyways, so once that kind of worked itself out, where people were, the first couple of weeks, they started to really tend to get online. Then we were able to really start to develop some things. So then that's when we developed our live show, which was something we actually had planned for this year, but we weren't going to do it until August.
But it expedited it.
Yeah, because we were going to push it after Star Wars Celebration. We had a whole game plan we were going to do, and things changed, so we adapted on the fly. So Crystal and I host that Tuesday nights, 6 o'clock, and it's just a claim show. But her and I, we banter back and forth, and it's a lot of fun, and people love it. She talks so much crap to me, but
they always do.
I was going to say,
yeah. And so anyway, so that being able to do that show kind of adapted, but I think what it did is it rose our level of alertness to our customer, where we realized that to our customer that they wanted us to be more visible, they wanted us to be more available to them, they wanted to interact with us more. Where you'd see me on Pawn Stars and stuff, and if you came and you saw me in the store, it was cool, but I kind of stepped back because I wanted my staff to be out front a little bit, and I actually kind of found my staff is featured, and I keep featuring my staff, but people also wanted to see Crystal and myself talk to Kelly, have those interactions.
Yes.
So that really opened up the opportunity for us to really engage that. And so we have, and I think overall, it's definitely, I feel a different connection with our customers than maybe we did 6 months ago, which I think is fantastic. And I love the fact that I see them. And there's a lot more social media interactions and a lot of that stuff. So as far as that goes, things have been good. Our downtown store traffic's still been down. And that's, I think, expected because we're, primarily tourist, store. And we'll see how that comes back over time. You know, the state being not providing information as we will, we won't, we will, we won't. I think that's keeping people from traveling a little bit. So
702-329-6947. Give us a call. Talk
Yeah.
to Steve. Talk to Scott. You don't have to talk to me. They're the stars. 702-329-6947.
Well, I share the exact same opinions, and I think you and I talked briefly at ToyCon because we both had the opinions things were going to close. So you spent some time walking around with me and discussing the hand sanitizers that were put in place before any stores and things had them. And you were probably the last major convention to kick off because a few weeks later I was going to have a show that got postponed. I don't want to say canceled, postponed, and it's an eye-opening experience of how we had to adjust to our customer base. I know I took a lot of emails of, hey, I don't see this on your website, but I saw it at your store. Yeah. How can I get it? And since we didn't have outside entrances, we could not do the curbside pickup. Matt at Pop Shack was very helpful in helping us do that because he does have an outside door. Yeah. But a lot of stuff, basically, I just said, hey, I'll cover the shipping even if you're local. You'll come back, throw a coupon in there. And I can't tell you how many coupons came back after we opened, which shows the loyalty of my customer base, which I'm sure he has the same way.
Well, you know, in sales, which you learn very early in any sales game, there's 3 reasons people buy and do business with others. Do you know what they are?
It's me.
What's that?
Yeah, right. Right. People will buy from you based on know, like, and trust.
Yep.
Yeah. And by obviously, initially, the initial purchases, the first time they buy from you, they trust you. What you're doing with the YouTube stuff is they're getting people to like you, and that is what builds the relationship. And then once that happens, the trust and the know, then things will happen. And I think stores like you guys and businesses like you guys had to work extra hard with the shutdown on those areas, which you guys, I mean, I know you personally, and I'm meeting you for the first time, but seeing you on the show, which is Pawn Stars on the History Channel, you guys are personable people. And I think with COVID, people have to work on that. And with your online presence and the things that you're doing is allowing people to stay connected. Right. And that's I think, what's important.
I think one of the things when people come into my store, I greet them when I'm there, and I hate the used car salesman approach of what do you want?
Agreed.
If you need some help or have any questions, come talk to me. Because I know when I go to another store, I don't want to be hounded by a salesperson.
Absolutely.
And having that interaction, or if they look confused, you need something, let me know. It gives them that you're helping them, but not pressuring.
You're there if they need you.
Yeah,
exactly.
Kind of thing. That's why when I go to a car lot, I send my wife to the people.
Well, I'm the same way in our stores. Our staff is, I call it let people shop.
Yeah.
Let them shop. Let them have a time, and if they want to talk to you, I'd rather my staff talk to them about their interests and things that they're into than any of the others. But one thing that came really awesome out of the whole COVID thing was there are a couple of long-standing businesses here in Las Vegas that weren't structured to transition to online.
Sure.
And one of those is a very good friend of ours. It's Alternate Reality Comics, and Ralph has owned that business since '96. And he wasn't really there. Well, we have some friends in the community, Shimpson Comics, and they came to us and said, hey, we really want to help Ralph kind of go. We got with another couple of pop culture related shops in town, and we created a hashtag called #NerdCulture702. And basically it was share the hashtag on anything nerdy that's within the Vegas culture, and let's let people have a landing place to find this, right? Well, we started pushing for Ralph, so we started championing Ralph. So part of one of our web shows that we were doing is we brought Barney from Shimpson Comics in, and he's featured each and every week, and we posted on our Facebook platform. And he comes in and he does a thing called Time to Eat, and it's the top 5 stories in Barney's Pop Culture Week. Very cool. It's really neat. It's a 15-minute segment, but it's sponsored by Alternate Reality. Gave Ralph a platform to be able to market some things, and it gave him some time to generate a little bit of sales while he got himself set up online during the shutdown.
Awesome.
So
now, you know what? I'm going to say this about Vegas, and we're going to go to our break before we come back, and let's start getting into some collectible stuff that we have. One thing about Vegas people don't realize is how, although we have 2.5 million people here, and people know us pretty much for gambling and food and strip clubs, we really are a close-knit community. You could see that when October 1 happened. You could see that when those officers lost their lives at CC Pizza. Yeah. How people in this community just come together. Now, what's unique about the story that you just shared, you have competitors within the same industry stepping up to help another business as people. And that's what's impressive about Las Vegas, and that's what you folks out there really should understand, that this is a community, not just what people know us as for slot machines and making money.
And, even though I've transitioned away from the sports card industry, I still embrace it.
Absolutely.
Most of mine is novelties because the industry did take a dip recently, or not recently, but, over the past 10 years. I have always stayed neutral. I call myself Switzerland with, legacy sports cards, ultimate sports cards, and all the sports card vendors. Because not only that, do I have a show that I embrace all of them coming in, which I tell them, that's inexpensive advertising for another market that you might not have touched. So, yeah, I try to do the same thing.
Yep.
All right, with that, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to step aside for our bottom of the hour break. More on Power Play Sports Collectible Show with the fellas you see here on the dais. Comments are coming in. Richie from Minnesota says, love the marketing strategy talk and enjoys you as a guest. So we appreciate you, Richie in Minnesota.
Thank you.
We'll be back in about 30, 60 seconds, whatever the producer feels like doing. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. For all your sports collectibles in Las Vegas, stop by Power Play Sports Collectibles in the Boulevard Mall. Power Play has a large selection of items from all your favorite teams, specializing in the Vegas Golden Knights, Las Vegas Raiders, and pro wrestling. Power Play Sports Collectibles has an online store if you prefer the online shopping experience, plus they ship worldwide. So if you're looking for that sports collectible for yourself or that special someone, check out Power Play Sports Collectibles online at www.powerplaysportscards.com or at the Boulevard Mall.
It's not easy. The mask kind of makes people uncomfortable. I don't have much of a social life. I wish people could see me for who I am, just trying to fit in. Be a good friend. Make a living. I know. The whole chainsaw thing. The woods. Sneaking up on people. I get it. I don't have the best reputation. But the thing is, behind the mask, I'm just a regular guy. I'm not scary at all. I have a cat.
Welcome back to Power Play Sports Collectibles here in Las Vegas at the Go Live Studios. Don't forget, next weekend we have our sports card, toy, and collectibles show at the Boulevard Mall, where our store is also, and we have a hat change going on over there. Yes.
Call that a wardrobe change.
Yeah,
There's a theme with my hats today.
Yeah, and I've been tasked to figure it out between this show and the next show.
I already figured it out.
I know.
Ooh.
So, with that being said, let's jump right into the hobby news. And we talked about this a few weeks ago, an 86-87 unopened Fleer basketball case. As you see in the picture that's being brought up right now. And the bidding is still going on, and right now it's at $1.8 million.
Holy cow.
Crazy.
You know what? Maybe the state of Nevada needs to do something like this to raise money for the budget so we stop cutting stuff. Get a box like this and let's put it on auction with proceeds going to CCSD or whatever.
There's 12 boxes in there,
Holy
36 count packs, or the old style wax packs, but that is the infamous Michael Jordan rookie card set.
1.8 million.
And there's
Jeez
a whole
Louise.
bunch of other rookies because that was the first year Fleer came out. So needless to say, bidding is still going on. Larry Frisch Collectibles or auction house at this point.
How long is that auction up for?
It'll be up till next week. So,
okay, so another
I
week.
think it's going to go over $2 million.
2.5 maybe? I'm going to predict 2.5.
Okay, we'll
I
see.
don't know.
There you go.
So-
Vegas.
Just sounded good.
Got to get a bet in. It's Vegas.
Exactly. Go down to Sunset Station where Chuck can help you out with the
Exactly.
your ticket on that. So next item we'll cover very quickly. Bobby Orr has signed a Upper Deck deal. So that would be under, well, do we have that? No, we don't. We don't have that. So, but anyway, Bobby Orr is part of the Upper Deck family. Fits perfectly because you've got greats like Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Patrick Waugh, Serena Williams. So when you talk about some of the greatest players, Bobby Orr with that goal, for the Bruins, classic. And
Absolutely.
they have 50 pieces that he did a handprint of. So you've got some pictures going around, and he did a fingerprint, but a handprint.
That's
and
cool.
those are going for about $25K a piece.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Hockey's hot with Upper Deck, so
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially locally here with our Las Vegas Golden Knights or Vegas
Absolutely.
Golden Knights.
Go ahead, keep going.
We'll
I
cover
have a question, but I'll get back to
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
The fridge. Everybody knows him.
William the Perry.
William,
Yes,
the
William
refrigerator Perry.
Yeah.
And we've got a picture of the jersey he wore in Super Bowl 20.
All because of a touchdown.
He was also a G.I. Joe.
He was?
He was, yes.
They made a G.I. Joe figure of.
Oh, I didn't know
Roddy
that.
Piper also has a G.I. Joe.
He does.
Wow.
Yep.
See the things you learn on this show.
So that jersey's going up. High bid as of Thursday was $25K. I think that's going to go quite higher.
Is
than
it? It's
that,
not
yeah.
signed or anything.
It is signed.
Yeah,
It's
oh, it is
upper,
signed.
upper breast.
Oh, I
above
see
the
it.
7.
There
Yeah.
you go. I see it. And wow.
Big jersey. It's
That's
I
a
think it's
touchdown
small.
jersey, though.
Yeah, it's a small.
What's that?
That is a touchdown jersey right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, jeez.
So the question I proposed to both of you: he scored a touchdown, but somebody didn't get the chance.
Walter
Sweetness.
Payton. Yeah. In that Super Bowl.
I personally feel that's a shame.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree.
100%.
So moving on, we've got the first look at the 2021 Topps Baseball. It's going to be the first time in about 5 years that they're going to return to the white borders. But that, COVID is, shortened season, so they've already come out with the 2021 design, and that's what it's going to look like. Kind of reminds you of the 2019 Donruss cards, if you ask me. But it's kind of hot, but
Well, it looks like it makes it easy for them to, when they flip to chromes and parallels and stuff, to be able
Absolutely.
to identify that stuff a lot easier.
yeah, because the darker cards do have issues with. I'm turning them over with my glasses, going, does it say refractor?
Exactly.
Because you accidentally leave a refractor in the box, and you're kind of you're missing out on a big thing. So I have blown literally through this because I am so jazzed to have you here.
Thank you.
From the toy world. Because I am not an expert. We've had a couple people come in, but I want to hear some of the hot new toys, Funko, Star Wars, Hot Wheels. Tell us some of the stuff that's coming out.
Well, right now, toy collecting is hot. It really is. Toys are fire, and you're seeing main lines that are really jumping. What has become really hot, though, is the retro style re-release toys.
I keep seeing the Evel Knievel.
Yeah. So you have toys that are re-releases like that. Now that probably doesn't fit some of the genres as much as some others. But when you get into Star Wars has the vintage collection, which is done in the classic vintage style card backs, but modern based figures and modern releases. Right now, any of the Star Wars releases are really hot. And you have a lot of stuff, especially wrapped around the Mandalorian, the Child, or Baby Yoda, as everyone calls, and so on. Like, that stuff is all incredibly hot. But right now, I would say the two hottest lines that people really are going crazy for, Masters of the Universe and G.I. Joe. And what it is this,
G.I. Joe.
yeah, so the Star Wars collectors have basically the vintage Star Wars collectors kind of gotten everything. So he got into going after all this vintage G.I. Joe and Masters of the Universe. Well, one of the things about G.I. Joe is there's hundreds of characters with hundreds of versions. So it becomes this it's a daunting task if you're going to try to collect one of every figure. Like, it's just daunting. These toy manufacturers have realized that this retro styling has gotten big, so they've come back and they've done limited releases, hard to find releases. So right now in the world of action figures, 6-inch action figures are hot. Marvel Legends are what kind of started this, and it started with Toy Biz and became a Hasbro property. And the Marvel toys, it's every wave, every collector has to have them. Like, that's how it is. They started doing that with the Star Wars, and that did really well. And now they launched G.I. Joe, and they just launched their first wave. They've got a series of Target exclusives, and now they've got a second wave coming. And these things are selling out everywhere. They're incredibly hard to find, and they're sculpted kind of off the comic book versions and stuff, rather than just the a cartoon based, because Hasbro's smart. They know they can go back and connect all those original cartoon guys by doing it later. But it is hot. It is huge. Yeah, G.I. Joe stuff is really hot, and this is some of the 3 3/4 inch vintage stuff you can see here. Majority of like late 80s, early 90s in this shot, and the stuff is just hot. And I mean, you're talking there. Some of these Target exclusives. Beachhead is one of them, for example. He's coming off the shelf at $20 to $25, right? Is the retail point, and he's reselling for $60.
Wow!
Like, right out the gate. This
Walk
is not
in.
a chase. This is not a chase. This isn't like a sports card where you get a rare card out of a pack after buying 50 packs.
Right.
This is the release of the toy, direct retail to the shelf, and it's gone. And the exclusives are going nuts. Ninja Turtles is another line, and NECA and Super 7 have really been going back and forth with the different releases. But what it is all these toys are super articulated. The sculpting is amazing on them.
Yes.
The price points have come up, but we've seen that collectors have been okay with that and really want more of the quality. They're willing to pay a little bit more to get better quality figures. And surprisingly enough, we were thinking that collectors were kind of going to steer off to the always leaving everything boxed and closed, which isn't necessarily good for the collectible,
Right.
because the more people that have it in a box, the less valuable it'll be down the road. These collectors are opening them, they're posing them, they're putting them in their displays, they're doing toy photography, which is really
That's a
hot
hot
right
thing right now. Yeah.
And so, because of that, it's allowing to limit up the amount of available resale inventory down the road of those items, which is key, because I always tell people, if people go, well, what's a collectible toy? Well, it's easy. Find a toy that gets played with, and it'll probably be collectible. If it's a toy that's not played with, then it's probably not going to be in collectible, because there's going to be lots of it out there that's going to be unopened.
Right.
So yeah, that's a series of the real hot toys. Master Universe again is also really hot, and they're restyling right now in that classic vintage look. And some of these properties also have movies coming up, so they're also being smart. G.I. Joe is a Snake Eyes movie coming out. They just did a new comic book release, which was actually amazing. They got Rob Liefeld to do exclusive covers. Our friends at Torpedo Comics here actually facilitated some of those. I actually just got mine. I got all 4 of them signed from Rob. It's really cool. I had to order them. And, you've got Master Universe is going to streamline a Netflix series with Kevin Smith.
Yep.
I mean, I can sit here and go on
Sure,
and on.
sure.
And, I mean, it's just heavy hitter after heavy hitter after heavy hitters involved in these
Well, now's
cool...
the time to bring it back, because everybody's stuck at home and there's things to watch now that's
No
coming up.
movies have been out for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Real quickly, as we're at the quarter of the
Yeah.
hour, I just want to do a quick reset. You are watching Power Play Sports Collectible Show with Scott and myself, and of course, special guest today, owner of Rogue Toys, Mr. Steve Johnston. A quick shout out. I think you know this because I've talked about it. There is a women's flat track roller derby here in Las Vegas, which I've had the pleasure of doing the PA for the Atomic Roller Girls for a couple of years now. And one of my favorite skaters in that team is Am Bam. And she's in the chat room watching today.
Hello, Am Bam. How are you?
We got another sport.
Keep skating.
That's right. Another sport that's checking in. I just want to stick on G.I. Joe for 1 second. Does the name action figure Fighting Yank ring a bell? If it doesn't, that's okay.
Not necessarily, no. It's
Growing up as a kid when G.I. Joe was hot, and for me, I mean, I was born in the mid-'60s, so we're talking early 70s.
Yeah.
The cost for G.I. Joe for my parents was just a little much because that was the name brand.
Right. It was
so I got the generic.
$1.30.
Fighting Yank was this toy's
Yes.
name. And I don't have it anymore, but it was just seemingly...
So that was part of the Dragoon line.
Okay.
So Dragoon released, and Dragoon actually did a release of, it was a variety of armies. And actually what they're known for is that they did Nazis and they did the Japanese soldiers.
Well,
And those are very, very hard to find. And what's funny is you go to a place like Mervin's, and Mervin's would have a bin and it would just be dumped full of these figures.
Wow.
And they would just be low price figures, $1.10 each.
Sure.
G.I. Joes would be $1.30 to $1.60 each or something. Yeah, so that's kind of where those came from.
You just mentioned Mervin's. There's a name I haven't heard like forever.
Well, just like in the wrestling world, the all-star wrestling figures on card, which were typically the old AWA wrestlers, you could buy those, because I managed a KB toy store in high school. Those were always on the clearance. No one wanted them, but people forget. The Road Warriors were part of that, Ric Flair. And the hottest one was the Barbarian and the Referee, because no one ever wanted the Referee, and to find that on card is just an amazing price.
Yeah, and then they took those sculpts, because that was sculpted after Masters of the Universe.
It was, yes.
And they turned them into Galactic Warriors and made a whole bunch of series out of them where they repurposed the body parts.
Now, with
repurpose the body parts. Let that sink in for a moment.
They did, I know, right?
One of my first ventures into kind of a sports and non-sports convention was at the old Sahara here, and I actually had Todd McFarlane and Stan Lane both doing an autograph session, and Todd McFarlane, who was known at that time pretty much for Spawn, and no one was even at his table. Today there'd be massive mobs, but he created the McFarlane toy line, which was had a lot of the sports and did the more realistic and started that whole genre of let's make them as realistic as possible. But what I like is they're going back to the old style, which
Yes.
I grew up with. You
Yeah.
know, the vintage, like you were saying, and it's created a whole new universe, like you said, for the kids. They're like, oh, this is kind of cool, you know.
Well, and that was an area that I got into. So I collected starting lineups
Yes.
when I was a kid. And I was heavy into it. I went to the national convention. I
Yep.
met Pat McAfee. I got all the convention. I know all of the history on that stuff. I had everything. One of my favorite pieces, since you're a Yankee fan,
Yes.
was the Jeter 3-pack.
Yes.
Which was really cool, and it was called a freeze frame, and it had 3 different poses of him to look like he was in motion, and you know, you saw that like that boomed and then it fell off, and I think McFarlane like kind of realized it. I believe now this is not out there or anything, but just by watching kind of what they're doing, I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to get an actual posable action figure line at some point of current sports stars. And once they do that, that sport
blow
toys
up,
collectible
yeah.
world will be monstrous.
Yes.
Do it in a 6 to 8 inch scale, and you know, give them the bats and give them their custom gloves and all that stuff and everything, and people will go crazy. Can I guess a theme?
Go for it.
Vegas minor league teams.
You have an idea?
That's what I was going to go with.
I have one more.
Taking a shot at it. I took a guess before the
Because
final hat.
I was going with the years, but you missed the Thunder in there, so.
Yeah, but
I don't have a
and he's
Thunder
coming back with the Wranglers here. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you are correct. Is it
Okay.
not necessarily the word minor teams, but the
Yes.
Las Vegas teams that are really no longer part of Vegas anymore?
Right.
So I just went a little vintage. And
Although the hat you're wearing
Yes.
is our Aviators now,
Right.
and I
That's
have
correct.
to give them a shout out because most people. So something people don't know about me is that my background being a DJ in the past. So Gary Arlitz, who was the program director out there for Aviators,
Right.
I've played baseball with Gary for years in the men's leagues, and we have rings together. And I've known Gary for a long time. He's asked me for years to be involved with music, and I always told him no. Now he's got a great guy out there for music, but he goes, would you come fill in every once in a while for me if I need somebody? And I go, I'll tell you what, Gary, I'll be your fill-in guy. So last season, I did about 8 games for the Aviators and did the music at the games.
Cool.
And have a good time and love it and everything out there. So, of course, anytime I get a chance to give a shout-out to our friends at the Aviators.
Oh,
but yeah.
Well, I had the Aviator hat last week.
Yes, and I can't believe how many times we've talked in our passive cross. Don Logan, who has been president, who's been everything from ticket general manager all the way up to president, general manager, every title he's owned. He's my old boss, so
That's
I should
great.
throw a shout out to Donnie Logan.
John Rankin, who's in our chat room, I don't know why he brought this up. We haven't really talked about the Golden Knights, but he says Vegas Golden Knights all the way. Then he says beat the Avs. Now, you mentioned Pat McAfee. I don't know.
Yes.
So, of course, Pat McAfee is something we've been talking about on Thoughts Count Anywhere. He puts in there, Pat McAfee is going to get destroyed by Adam Cole. That's a wrestling match coming up at SummerSlam between those two. So, John is taking us all over the place.
I'll tell you what he will give you, though. Pat McAfee will give you some entertainment value.
Oh, he will.
That
absolutely.
guy can talk, man.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Gosh,
And
can he
has.
talk.
And he
I
has.
love it.
It falls back into it was a complete work.
Exactly. Let me ask you a question kind of off the topic of today's stuff. 'cause
Yeah, no worries.
I'm more of like the outside the box question guy.
Sure.
What's the most unique item someone's brought to you to get your opinion? Most unique.
Oh, man. See, I always have a tough time with this because unique to me, a lot of times is like stuff that's really hard to find. Like you say that, and my very first, like if you go, what's the first thought that comes to your mind, right? Not something that would normally be there. I evaluated a ponytail #1 Barbie
Okay.
for the shop, but it was at the Flamingo. Now you're like, wait, what? At the Flamingo?
Okay.
And it's because Donnie and Marie had their show there, and Marie Osmond's hairdresser collected Barbies. Rick was at a show, got called back to go see Marie, and there was the Barbies, and he started talking to him and found out he had the #1 Barbie. Now, why is that unique to me? Because Barbie's popular and Barbie's something we know and we hear about, but you don't see #1 ponytail Barbies. They're very hard. And identifying them is key because there's a lot of fakes and issues and stuff like that. So to actually go out and evaluate that one, I can tell you now that my evaluation on that one, I've only ever touched 2 other ones in my entire life.
There's a picture
So
of Barbie.
yeah, so for me to actually go, and this is actually a #1. Here, although this might be our.
It looks
Yeah,
like, it looks like a young
I think it's a
Lucille
reissue,
Ball.
but it's still a #1.
You can tell that from a picture. That's amazing.
Yeah. She, the things about like this doll in particular, like weird things, like ghostly look on her face. She was very kind of like palely white and so on. Certain colors with the iris and having the iris uncolored and stuff like that. But then she also has this smell. And it's funny because I told Rick during the episode, I'm like, smell her. He was like, I don't want to smell her. I'm like, smell her. Because the body of a ponytail number 1 will smell like crayons. And it was the type of materials they use. Yeah.
Wow.
So just kind of knowing and having, that information. But again, we don't get to touch these. We don't see these. And like what he's showing there is you actually see at the bottom there.
The stand.
The stand has some copper tubes that go into the feet that match up to some copper tubes. They changed that. So only the ponytail number 1 will have the holes with that stand in the base. But yeah, you talk about unique items, and I think of stuff like that, and there's been a lot of great stuff. Like we had a 1968 Hot Wheels store display walk in one time, which
That's cool.
it was one of 7 known to exist. It came out of Alaska, and it's the only one that had an alternate car in the display, color-wise, that wasn't with
The original set,
the other 6 that you saw.
I got a question in the chat room,
Yeah.
and it's funny from Chief, and he brings up a great question because I used to collect these. Are Hess trucks still collectible, or have they got over? Are they overflooded the market?
I wouldn't say Hess trucks have overflooded the market, but what I'll tell you about Hess trucks is
good to know because I
they're
got a
still
few still in
making
my
they're
box.
still making some Hess trucks, right? These are still being produced. There's a small contingent of collectors, and believe it or not, they're not people that are watching any of our shows. And the reason they're not is because a lot of them are like from the Midwest. They're farmers. Their local feed store carries them, whatever it is. The older stuff, though, you're not seeing a big collector contingent for. As the scales of the cars have been large, the collectors, and I always tell people this, collectors' biggest enemy is space.
Yes.
So when you get into large items, you limit who can collect them.
True.
And that's one of those items that you're seeing it. So Hess trucks are keeping value, and there's rarity ones and certain ones. There's, after September 11th, there was a big fire engine push.
Right.
And Hess trucks they had all the identifiable fire trucks from all the different New York metropolitan fire departments, and people were chasing all those. But that line, for the lack, and I say this a lot, so it's probably boring to people who follow me, is that for lack of a better phrase, it's a dying collector. And that is, there's more collections becoming available and less collectors looking for them.
Right.
Doesn't say that they're not going to sustain time, because the one collectible in the toy world that we've seen that's definitely been able to sustain is vehicles. Boys always play with cars.
Cars and trains and stuff
they
like
always
that,
do. Trains even change, but cars are a staple.
Well, Hess, for those who don't know, Hess was a big oil and gas company based on the East Coast.
Yep.
And when you would go every year, you also used to come with a car. It wasn't just a truck. I have a Hess Carrier and its car, the sports car that came with it. I had that buried somewhere in one of my boxes.
It was a marketing toy.
Right.
It was made for marketing, and
Right.
then it's just like the Buddy Lee doll I mentioned, and then it got turned into an actual release.
We seem to have about 7 minutes left, boss, so I'll follow your lead and where you want to
Well,
go.
why don't we do the birthdays? And
Okay.
like we started a couple weeks ago, fond memories of these people.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll start it. Marcel Dion.
Hockey, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, he's from Canada. Maybe our producer can jump on the mic. Maybe he knows who Marcel Dion is.
Nah.
He's from Canada. He's Calgary originally.
Okay.
We won't hold that against him.
I guess the Knights are playing the Avs because that's sort
Yes.
of what John's message was too.
Herb Brooks.
Oh, the Miracle. Are you kidding me?
Absolutely. One of the greatest coaches.
Absolutely.
Not to get his just due until later on.
Yeah. Became the Rangers coach for a couple of years, which was unfortunately not successful.
Marcel? Or the Rocket.
Maurice Richard.
Eh.
Well,
Richard, yeah.
Yeah.
Not the Pocket Rocket, which was
Phonics
his
for
brother.
you. Huh? What?
Pocket Rocket was the brother, but
Yeah. Again, great hockey player, Canadian.
11 Stanley Cups.
Listen, we talk about records all the time and things that'll never be beaten. I don't see anybody reaching double digits, let alone 11.
No.
Yeah.
Not in this day and age.
Roger Clemens.
Oh, I have so many things that pop into my mind.
Played in a tournament with him.
Really?
Yeah, I got to play in a tournament with him, and he pitched against Oil Can Boyd in Tempe Diablo in one of the men's tournaments that we played in, and it was a featured game, and they played in I think it was the 50 and over league. And he came out and he pitched, and he was still throwing in the high 80s. Yeah.
Wow.
There's questions I can throw in here and all sorts of
Yeah.
comments, but
Yeah.
Did you get one?
No, well, I didn't. So in the men's leagues, I did face Randy Johnson. I went 2 for 3 off Randy Johnson. Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, right.
Yeah,
I know,
exactly.
right? Well, and I swing from the left side, so it's even
Awesome, yeah.
scarier, right? And I can tell you the first one.
Are the Smurfs still collectibles?
You know, the Smurf stuff are collectible, but you don't have. They're not reliving that line enough. Like
Right.
you're seeing the popularity of Trolls
Right.
and kind of how Trolls has gone. I think it's kind of like pushed that down a little bit, but there's still a collector out there for them. It's an international collectible. So you have a
You
big
mentioned the
international
trolls
market.
real quickly. I
Yeah.
saw a video today that a lady posted in Walmart.
I seen that.
Yes, you know what I'm going to
I
talk
seen
about.
that, yeah.
Do you know what
Yes.
we're referring to? So just when
Yeah.
you buy this certain troll doll, there's a lot of questions about where the button is to push to make the sounds. And there's a lady out there with a video that I watched this morning. Woof.
It seems like every 10 years there's a toy like that
Yes.
comes out. That there was a Teletubby back in the 90s.
Right.
It was the same thing. Like he pressed it and it said a derogatory phrase.
Right.
You know, you have these toys and things like this happen. It just has really unfortunate placement.
Yes.
I think is what this is. Just go watch the video. We don't want
exactly,
to.
no.
Just go watch the video. Trolls.
But
Walmart.
you mentioned trolls. So
But my biggest question is, can the lady leave her mask on in the video? She's out in public. She's ripping it down.
Like,
But she was social distance, though.
She was.
for
Presumably.
me being a Star Wars fan, the trading card set with Anthony Daniels and
Absolutely.
C-3PO has.
X-rated C-3PO.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Continuing on, Las
Scott,
Vegas.
Scott Hoke from Alaska, a friend of mine, is watching from Alaska right now.
Wow, very cool.
Hello, Scott.
Scott, Kurt Busch.
Oh,
Round track.
Yeah, no,
well, there it is
yeah.
on the
Oh,
camera.
there it
what we're
is.
talking about.
Unfortunate placement. That's
Yes.
all I can
and
say.
the sounds that come out when that demo button is pushed
Are
is
just
not-
as unfortunate.
As just all right. Let's get that off the screen. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Kurt Busch, local boy.
Yes.
Yes, yes. NASCAR done us well.
Todd Christensen,
Very, I want to say very underrated to a lot of extent,
Raider.
but a great raider nonetheless.
I had him out for an autograph session at Sam's Town.
Yeah.
And at the time, they had the sports bar downstairs. They had a trivia. He was a huge trivia guy. He stayed up all night until he got the high score. I can tell you that.
Right on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just reading John's later. He's giving us the hockey updates in the chat room.
Patrick Ewing.
Coach Ewing.
Coach Ewing. Yeah, he just turned. He just had a birthday. Didn't he just have a birthday this week?
Yeah.
Something like that. One of the greatest Knicks, in my opinion, to never win a title.
I was going to say,
And-
he's the Dan Marino.
And,
Yeah, exactly.
and on top of it, he was a class guy.
Yes.
Class
Absolutely.
guy. No
Yes.
one's ever said anything bad about
Everybody
him.
blamed Charles Oakley
Except for the
that
people
game.
that have worked for him or under him.
Yeah, exactly. exactly.
But everyone else loved him.
Talk about another class guy right here, David Robinson.
Top of the class.
Yeah, I was just gonna say class is all you can really say.
This is Mr. Military right here.
Yeah, Navy, and got out a little early because he couldn't fit in the submarines anymore. At that size,
Yeah.
It's a great point.
Don Larson.
No hitter in World Series history.
Curveball.
Yeah. When you-
Curveball. That's what I think. Curveball.
When you talked about Roger Clemens, when I was
Yeah.
working for the Stars way back when, and I've told him this story, Sandy Koufax was a roaming pitching instructor for the Albuquerque Dukes at
Yeah.
the time. And I was out in the dugout just doing my job, just checking on the field because that's what I did. And he's like, "You want to take a few swings?" And I kid you not, I got to stand in the box while
Did you connect at least?
I know.
Or did you purposely miss just to make him feel good?
Just to feel good. Just stand
Sure.
in there against Sandy Koufax. That was just amazing.
Raphael I'm going to botch his name. Orlaza?
Oriaza.
Oh, okay, he
Yes.
just puts in there hashtag nerdculture702. He's in the chat.
Raph checking in. How you
Check it
doing,
out.
Raph?
Thank you for
Yeah,
joining us,
Thank
man.
you.
Sorry I butchered your last name. Thomas Glenn says the Admiral. And, happy birthday to John Rankin's wife. He just put that in the chat room, so I figured out.
Absolutely.
So we got
Happy
about,
birthday, Mrs. Rankins.
There you go. We got about 2 minutes.
Tom Brady.
TB12. This is
The
my
GOAT?
most. This is my most disappointed thing about not having fans in the stadium this year. Was we were gonna get Brady Sunday night.
That's
here
right.
in Vegas, and that having him and Breeze in their final swan songs in
Oh,
the
yeah.
opening of Allegiant Stadium was going to be amazing. It's still going to be great, and I can't wait. But as the season ticket holder, I was so disappointed.
I still might have the first event because I got Garth Brooks tickets. I think
Yeah.
that might be the first
There's a very
event.
good
still.
chance.
next year.
Yeah, very good chance.
Absolutely.
But yeah, TB12, he's killing it, and he's been putting up some social media videos to show he's still out there and rocking it.
He lost 8 pounds or something I saw, like in one workout day
Well,
or
this
something
man's
crazy.
never had a drink, never drinks coffee.
My wife thinks I'm like a Brady apologist, and I've been a Chargers fan forever. But
Okay.
it's just, if you can't beat them, join them. I don't really know at this point. When you've seen the greatest of all time play, and we've had from my lifetime,
Yeah.
I've been able to see them all. It's unreal.
We have 1 minute left. Just
Yeah.
keep an eye on the timer. so that our producer doesn't yell at
Well,
us.
he's
Yeah,
already got the
absolutely.
red lights.
I know he's giving us our
He's
first
done
signal
it.
that
The
it's that
Fiend
time.
is going to show up very
Well, I'll
soon
tell you
for
this,
the show.
guys. Get out and see Scott's show next weekend. Support these local events and these local things. Scott and I are off to talk about Unicon, which is the convention coming in 2021.
You know what? We got a minute. Finish it off with
Unicon,
that.
Fandoms United, Unicon.Vegas. Tickets are on sale now. Sports, comics, toys, games, pop culture, food trucks. You think of your fandoms, we got it, and we'll have more information for you guys.
You need a voice and a host for that. I know somebody.
There you go. I know a few people now.
Yo,
And hopefully you'll come back. We'll chat more about
You
it.
tell
So,
me when
yeah.
you'd like to have me back. I'll come back
Absolutely.
on.
there's so we didn't even tip the iceberg.
No,
man.
Not
well,
at all.
some of the stuff that Steve and I have talked briefly about before the show need to get out there because it's going to be awesome.
Right on. All right. Say goodbye. Thought
Goodbye.
last comment.
No.
That's good.
Hey, goodbye to Florida because you know what? I see my stepmom and my dad in the room. You know, I was supposed to be there this weekend. I love you both. Take care of yourselves. And for everyone out there, take care, be safe, and be courteous to one another.
Right on.
Quick shout out to my wife. Love you, babe.
There you
Checking
go.
in.
The boss. That's the
That's
real
right.
boss.
Crystal Johnson, the boss.
Duck balls.
Yeah, no, that is.
From all of us here, probably yes. I got 31 years on with one, and she keeps telling me.
Well done, sir.
So yes. Have a great week, everybody. From all of us here at Power Play Sports Collectibles, and I always like to say, before I say it, 1 hour from now, Scott and I will be hosting Our House, Our Voice, the official fan cast of the Fan Action Nation. But as I always say, be kind to each other. Why is that? We're all we got. Have a great week, everybody. From all of us here at Power Play Sports Collectibles Show. See ya.
See you guys.
Damas y caballeros, I am Ricardo Rodriguez, and I want every single person out there to watch my very favorite show, Thoughts Counts Anywhere, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m.
Hi, I'm Wally Joyner. Listen to the Power Play Sports Collectibles podcast every week and visit the store at the Boulevard Mall.